Quantum Leap, How Artificial Intelligence and Global Computing Will Reshape Global Finance. Imagina una revolución más allá de lo imaginable, inteligencia artificial que aprende, criptografía que se reinventa, computadoras que rompen esquemas y mercados que se transforman en tiempo real. Bienvenidos al Quantum Leap. Aquí están los arquitectos de ese cambio, exfuncionarios de CFTC y SEC, líderes de supervisión financiera, gurús de la criptografía cuántica. Su misión, mostrar cómo Machine Learning, la inteligencia artificial y el cómputo cuántico no solo optimizan, sino que decoran el lienzo funcional del riesgo, la seguridad, los mercados y los sistemas de pago. ¿Estás listo para una disrupción que reescribirá las reglas de la transacción? Prepárate para ver cómo se define la próxima frontera del sistema financiero. Más inteligente, más rápida, más segura, pero también más compleja. Porque en este Quantum Leap no hay vuelta atrás, solo evolución. Nos acompaña para profundizar en el tema José Alatorre, CEO fundador de Main Sequence. Gary DeWall, former Senior Counsel and Chair de Financial Markets and Regulation de Keaton Munchen Rossmann y presidente de GD Mountain Insights. Osvaldo Zapata, autoridad mundial en cómputo cuántico. Y para moderar el panel, Daniel Davis, former CFTC General Counsel, Co-Head of Financial Markets and Regulation de Keaton Munchen Rossmann. Les damos la más cordial bienvenida al Risk Management and Trading Conference 2025.
Thank you very much for that warm introduction. I'm Dan Davis. As was noted, I'm an attorney. I'm co-chair of Catton's Financial Markets and Regulation practice. I took the role once held by this guy over here, Gary DeWall. I was also the former general counsel at the CFTC. We're very happy to have you here today. I want to make sure Oswaldo's on the line. Do we have Oswaldo here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Oswaldo. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Glad to be here.
He's back there.
There you are.
Okay, good. We've got Oswaldo here. Excellent. All right. Well, we'll dive into it. We're going to talk a lot about AI and quantum, and I think we're going to have plenty of time for questions. Obviously, if you have a question during the course of the presentation, feel free to raise your hand. We'd love to hear what they have to say. Gary, we were here a year ago. We were talking about AI and quantum. When it comes to AI, what has changed for you over the past year?
It's actually been a very, very interesting year. Let's start off with headlines. Headline number one is stumbles. Stumbles in the rollout of new advanced versions. Just a couple of weeks ago, ChatGPT 5 came out, and it wasn't exactly a smooth introduction. A lot of hallucinations. A lot of folks say, can we go back to ChatGPT 4? You'll recall a couple of weeks earlier, Elon Musk Grok tried to clean out its system. He thought it had too much DEI. And as a result of the clean out, we saw information being unleashed about how to murder somebody in their house at night. And we saw all sorts of references to Hitler, which probably weren't exactly what Elon Musk expected. So stumbles are number one. That being said, we have seen increase. Next headline is increased capability. We've seen AI achieving high standards in mathematical tests now for the first time, showing some really advanced reasoning. So that's very, very important. We've seen the introduction of more agents. This is applications where autonomous systems are undertaking tasks. That's been a big development this year, and that's probably much of the future. We've seen big financing rounds, $40 billion for OpenAI, Anthropic, $3.5 billion. So we've seen a lot more money going to AI. We've seen the recent acquisition of Johnny Ive by OpenAI with the intent of coming up with some kind of new apparatus, much like the iPhone or the MacBook, that they think is going to be unnecessary for all folks. We'll see how that works out. We've seen China become a player. DeepSeek, was very, very eye-opening when it unleashed with using a lot less powerful computer chips, but with very, very high results. Um, and we've seen an increasing debate about what is the best kind of AI. Is it open source or not open source? The difference being open source, everybody can see how the thing runs, and when it's not open source, you can't. Why would you do open source? Because you get people used to your standards. You get people used to your system, and you hope to become a market standard in the long term. So we've seen a lot of incremental. Oh, I'm sorry, and the last one that's very, very important is capacity. We've seen more chips on boards. We've seen bigger data centers. We've seen computer farms in the United States. We've seen states trying to be the host of these facilities. Obviously, big demands on electricity. So a lot of incremental changes. And the other thing we've seen is people rejecting AI now, people rolling out AI and actually pulling it back because it wasn't working just like they wanted it to. And they weren't seeing the economic benefits of their investment. So I think those are some of the things that I've seen during this last year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely lots of fits and starts and kind of wondering where it's going to go. Oswaldo, let me turn to you now. Quantum, what advances and what developments have we seen with respect to quantum over the past year?
Well, so many things. I think if I can mention two of them, I think one is regarding the hardware, and the other one is more like the regulations concerning the quantum threat of breaking modern quantum cryptography. So both of them happen at the same time in December 2024. The first one was the processor by Google, Willow, that showed that once again, quantum supremacy is a reality. And let me just be clear on this. Quantum supremacy means quantum computers that can solve mathematical problems much faster than classical problems. In this case, the computer could realize a computation that only took it 5 minutes instead of 10 to the power of 42 years. Okay, I mean 10 followed by 42 zeros, right? Years. So this processor complete the problem only in 5 minutes. So this is once again another proof that quantum computers are much, 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 much faster than classical computers, right? So this is a great achievement. And then the other one is concerning the quantum threat, which is also a reality because modern quantum computers cannot still break the modern encryption methods, but very soon in the 5 to 7 years, they will certainly do it. And then the National Institute of Standards and Technology in US passed a suggestion for many institutions to start moving from these old methods to this what they call post-quantum cryptography. Okay, these are mathematical problems which are more complicated, more difficult, and then this will give some time for institutions to be more secure, maybe a couple of decades more for the next generations of quantum computers to break. So these are the two main, I think, advancements in the field concerning hardware and then also cryptography, quantum cryptography. That's my point of view.
Certainly a lot going on with quantum. I mean, Gary, again, we were here last year talking about quantum, and last year you were telling people that you thought people, especially regulators, were underestimating when commercially functional quantum computers would be available. I think you were saying it was possible that the time frame was more likely around 5 years or less than 5 to 15 years. We've had a year to think about it, watch what's going on. What's your current view with the state of quantum?
Well, both IBM and Google have announced roadmaps to try to get a functioning quantum computer online by the end of the decade. And they're thinking that both have suggested that they'll have 1 million qubits, which is the building block of the quantum computer, operational. I would add to Oswaldo, one of the other big developments in quantum this year is not only the addition of qubits and getting them to interface with each other, through entanglement better, but they're getting better at removing some of the noise around the qubits that causes interference with their performance. And that's been a big development this year too. So I think that between the ability to get more qubits functioning and interfacing with each other, and the ability to get rid of some of the noise, what they call decoherence, I do think it's possible that that you'll have initial quantum capacity by the end of the decade, which is, we'll talk about it later, but is actually pretty bad news because it means that the bad guys can get that also.
It is a two-edged sword, double-edged sword, with any type of technology. So Jose, let's bring you into the conversation. AI's Financial Services Conference, when you are working with AI and you're evaluating the financial markets, what role do you see AI playing in finance?
I think it's very distinguished between what we mean by AI, right? Maybe some of you guys remember I came here maybe 8 years ago to give a course about like deep learning and reinforcement learning. And we focus a lot on like prediction models, how to trading. And this is AI, right? But this was just an application. This is how we used to understand AI in a little corner of the quant guys 6-7 years ago. What we're experiencing now, and what I want to talk about AI, it's making the steam, right? It's about like large language models and what it's being done by the companies that are spending billions of dollars a year in improving this technology. I think the difference with this is that there's not an impact that we will see in tools as we were building before. There is going to be an impact that is going to permeate in people, processes, and especially of how we work in the financial industry. I think this is key, and this is something that we need to be very aware, and why this is a technology that we cannot just wait or let go. It's so critical because it's going to change how we work. I will ask any of the people here, how often are they using ChatGPT or any of the assistants, right? It's becoming embedding in how we just experience technology. So this, of course, is going to translate into enterprise. And I think this is what we are going to see. We're going to see a change not only in tools, but actually how we work and interact with technology.
Yeah, it's certainly very exciting. For regulators, it's also potentially very harrowing. The first chairman I worked for at the CFTC, Chris Giancarlo, he talked about, a regulator should be trying to skate to where the puck is going to go, right? And in soccer, it's no good if you're not moving. You got to go to where the ball's going to be. And he tried to, think about, what's the technology? Where's it going to develop? Where's it going to come for? This is going to be regulated in some way, Gary, but how are the regulators doing? You're more familiar with the U.S., but how are the regulators doing? What are they doing with respect to AI regulation?
Well, the good news is that they're really not doing that much right now, which to me is actually the right approach. There are certainly I won't call them unintended consequences. They're just consequences of AI. AI can engage in most of the activities that are considered prohibitive, or help engage in activities by others that are prohibited. But humans have been doing these activities for a long, long time. As I've said to a number of folks, when I first entered the business in 1982, and I learned about the Hunt-Silva crisis and the manipulation, that wasn't AI, that wasn't a machine. When I went back and I looked at financial scandals dating before then, it wasn't AI, it wasn't a machine. Yes, AI and will be able to better facilitate some of these problems, but it's not the technology. It's the problem that the regulators need to concentrate at. One of the big changes in the United States from just the prior administration to this administration, where the prior administration did try to suggest through executive orders various controls that should be on AI. The first thing that the current president did was revoke those executive orders and come out with new executive orders that said we want American AI, to be the gold standard, and we want to export it to the world. That was one executive order. And the other executive order that was interesting was we want our AI to be non-biased. The extent that we, the U.S. government, purchase AI, we want it to be non-biased. We don't want it to be making, social type of considerations. That was very interesting. Um, the financial regulators, your old agency, the CFTC, my old agency, the CFTC, and the SEC were basically silent. Have basically been silent for the last year. One of the self-regulatory agencies, FINRA, reminded folks that you don't get a pass because it was a machine that conducted the wrong deed. The entity that unleashed that machine is still responsible. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange has always had a sort of a rule out there that dealt with automatic trading systems and the need for supervision. So you really didn't see anything from the SEC, from the CFTC. You really didn't see anything from the other federal regulators. The states had some activity, but it really wasn't consequential. It really was more about discrimination, anti-discrimination provisions, things like that. So for now, and we're going to talk about the international regulation, I know, later on, but for now, what I've seen in the United States is actually silence.
Yeah, so they're going to have to deal with it at some point, because it's not something that doesn't create any potential problems, right? And so, Jose, let's talk about that a little bit. When organizations are implementing AI and trying to deal with the developments of AI, what types of challenges are they getting? And I'll give that to you first, and I'll give Gary and Oswaldo a chance to chime in if they want to say anything.
Of course, I think it's with any new technology, there always come the risk associating of doing something new, right? So this is something that with AI, but we have faced with any other technology. I think in the particular case of AI, what the challenges that a lot of financial institutions are facing is that migrating from the amazing things that the LLMs can do in telling you what's a cool restaurant or helping you writing an email does not cover aspects of finance, right? Finance is yes. Finance is it's an industry where very small errors can have critical consequences. So I think a lot of people from the industry is trying to find a way into how to overcome the probabilistic nature that comes inherently with the LLMs. So we have seen a lot of approaching into agentic workflows and trying to build tools and safe AI that is guardrailed and can help us and can give us all this type of science fiction that we see when we interact with ChatGPT, but can also give us the certainty and the knowledge that we are still in a very critical industry. So this is how what we are seeing.
Gary, Oswaldo?
Yeah, no, I agree with Jose 100%. I mean, you have seen a lot of rollouts that have been rolled back because of hallucinations of AI and other issues. We've also learned a little bit about ourselves. Folks don't want to pick up the phone and talk to a chatbot. They want a human being. So firms have had to adapt. Instead of having the chatbot interface with consumers, they've had the humans interface with the consumers, and they had on the screen the information generated by AI that the human should convey. So we've seen evolution in the approaches to these systems, and I think we will continue to see that. Again, when PCs were first rolled out in the 1980s, folks expected productivity to increase tremendously. They expected folks to lose their jobs left and right. I mean, I was there. There was great fear about these PCs basically taking over jobs of human beings. It didn't happen. And the rollout of PCs was actually quite slow, all things being considered. And I think that's what we're seeing now with AI. There's great enthusiasm about the potential. And I think in the last 2 years, there have been a lot of efforts to roll it out and to have it do things. But AI is still not really have a necessary high degree of reliability to rely on it itself. It's just not there yet, I believe, to allow it to act in an autonomous fashion without a human in the loop.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the legal area, we've seen AI, come up short. Attorneys have used AI to draft briefs. There's an instance of a U.S. judge who used AI to draft an opinion and sent them out, and it turns out that the citations or the cases that were being cited by the AI program didn't exist, and so there have been sanctions motions that have been brought. Lawyers have been sanctioned for things like that. And like you're talking about in financial services, there are very thin margins, right? And so if you're relying on an answer or information that's provided by an AI system and it's just a little bit off in the wrong type of circumstance, that little bit off can have enormous consequences. And so I think experiences like that, amongst the legal class has encouraged people to exercise a lot of caution with AI, and to see if AI really comes up with better, more consistent, more accurate type results. And I think the jury is still out on that. I'd be interested to hear from the panel. Jose, we can start with you. Any specific examples of AI applications in finance that are possible that people are using right now?
Yes, of course. We have seen from like the boring ones, but very critical, to the really sexy ones, right? So I think it's important from the boring ones. It's very focused on people and processes, right? Like when I start speaking about AI and we can do AI applications, and Main Sequence is this platform that brings agentic workflows. So people ask me like, hey, can I ask in what to invest? Can you tell me exactly? The AI is going to tell me what to buy and what to sell. And we were like, well, listen, like when this comes, I'm not going to sell it to you, right? Like you're never going to see this application because whoever builds it is going to keep it by itself. What you need to focus is like, which are your pain points and how can you improve your productivity and how can you improve your processes? So we have seen, for example, automation of process and unification of data, automation of reporting, for example, like something very interesting. When we started this project a few years ago, we have surveyed like around 500 billion of assets under management, right? And all of them, they have the same problem. We spend a lot of time like building reports and building presentations. So we have seen actually a lot of applications and a lot of desire of people to use AI, not to make the best prediction, but actually to automate these processes. Mm-hmm. And on the sexy side, right, like we're actually starting to see putting agents in the loop, and I'm going to speak to that tomorrow, into actually self-sufficient research, right? Like not just tell me what to buy, but actually help me to make my research better, help me to find new alpha sources. So there is really a broad spectrum of applications that we're seeing. But what is very important is like most of these applications are focusing into processes, not really into like a really tool, but actually improving the human process and enriching the human process.
Oswaldo or Gary, anything else you'd like to add?
I'll let Oswaldo go first.
Okay, concerning the regulations you were mentioned before, to my knowledge, there is no regulation regarding quantum computing. I know that, as I mentioned, for the migration from standard encryption methods to these post-quantum cryptography new methods approved by NIST, this is something that is suggested to most financial institutions, and for government institutions, it's also compulsory to start moving now. Okay, this is concerning the regulations. Now, about the main uses of quantum computing for finance, the standard ones, the usual ones already studied for several years. We have portfolio optimization, machine learning, and simulations, Monte Carlo simulations, but also risk management and asset pricing, right? So these are the usual cases. It's still a nascent research, even though it's progressing, but the hardware is still not here. So still some work has to be done to have some real use cases very, very solid. So this is what is called quantum, not advantage, but practical quantum advantage, in the sense that these computers most of them, who are hybrid computers, classical and quantum together, they should start showing some concrete results in the following years, maybe in 2 or 3 years when the hardware will be more advanced.
I think what you're hearing is a theme. So what AI is particularly good at is data analytics as well as deviations from behaviors, routine performances. And you're seeing the firms now begin to try to what Jose called the sexy aspects. You're seeing firms begin to use AI in some capacity in connection with those matters. What are those matters? Again, portfolio management, trading decisions, fraud detection. It appears that AI is going to be very, very helpful for that. But again, financial firms are also firms, and the boring is also sexy. A lot of firms are using AI now to screen candidates when they do interviews or an initial round of screening. You're seeing legal departments using AI, not to submit something to a court necessarily, but for initial drafting. Compliance departments, again, using AI to monitor for bad behavior. You're seeing firms begin to experiment using AI to enhance their cybersecurity, to see deviations in a normal flow of information from external sources to potentially detect a bug. So, and one firm, and I think it's public. I read about it, so it has to be public. But one firm actually used AI to take code for all old software applications that were using legacy languages that were around when I was there, Fortran, things like that, and to convert it to more current day code. And that sounds boring, but it actually is pretty important and pretty interesting. And AI is being used for coding. That's one of the more practical uses that folks are using AI for right now. So I think these practices will become more ingrained and more widespread.
I think we're only going to continue to see various applications. Let's shift over to quantum for a little bit. I think quantum will mix with AI quite a bit, but Gary, when we add quantum to the mix, what kind of potential use cases do you see in financial services? What are people exploring? And then Oswaldo, I'll give you the same question.
Well, right now, the best you're seeing right now is folks sort of thinking about it theoretically, because that's really the capacity they have. There's really no way to really use quantum right now in an effective manner. What quantum will do is speed up AI. When those merge, quantum, AI will do what it's doing, and it will do it faster, much faster than today's traditional bit computers can handle it. So we're not there yet, and only a few folks have actually put staff on to think about quantum going forward. The trading firms have, for sure, because speed is everything for those guys. But where you're seeing folks put on quantum, it's more to deal with some of the encryption issues that we're going to be talking about a bit later on.
Oswaldo?
Yes, absolutely. The main challenge now is really to integrate quantum computing with AI, in particular with machine learning. So the idea, you see more and more people working now in quantum machine learning, is exactly how to speed up these machine learning processes by inserting, in the process some quantum computing. This has two challenges, not only the practical challenge, of course, because these are, as I said, a mixed hybrid quantum computers, which have quantum and a piece, which is classical, but also theoretical. There are many results that are not there yet. So this really quantum advantage is not clear, but there is a lot of hope in that sense. And then this is the main goal. Now, of course, there is a lot of hope also regarding the sizes of these microprocessors we have today, and all the challenges that AI is posing to them. So quantum computing can be maybe, that's the hope, the new processors, to satisfy all these requirements of AI.
Great. So, Gary, we talked about the regulation or the lack of regulation in the AI space right now. I have a guess of what your answer is going to be, but what's the state of regulation with quantum right now?
Actually, the answer is it's actually the answer is the same, but it shouldn't be, in my view. So the answer is the same. I mean, we're too early in quantum development for folks to really be thinking through, all the myriad of issues that are going to come up. And to the extent that there are rules or executive orders or countries are getting involved, it's to promote quantum and to promote development and to make sure they're not left behind. What concerns me actually is that I think that the regulators worldwide are underestimating, how soon, some of the externalities of quantum will come about. And the biggest externality is the fact that today's encryption standards will be broke by bad folks with quantum capability. And I don't think the regulators are addressing that with a sufficient speed. Part of it is because of the issue that we don't really know what the alternative is. There's already been an algorithm drafted by a gentleman named Shor that shows how easy it is for a quantum capability to break apart today's encryption that protects most privacy. But we don't know what to do. Well, we do know some things to do. We should be thinking about, what data do we have, what systems we have that could potentially be at risk. We should be making sure that's a good inventory. We should be following what folks are proposing as a solution. The U.S. government, through agency NIST, has come up with theoretically secure standards, new encryption standards that should be instituted to help protect against a quantum attack when quantum is available. But very recently, there's actually been more written about the fact that we don't actually know how to make something as quantum proof as NIST may have suggested is possible. And we've got to think that through a bit more. So it seems to me that the regulators shouldn't be imposing anything, because I'm not a big fan of regulatory imposition. But the regulators should be, holding up the yellow card and saying, guys, in 2000, we started preparing for Y2K years before. The problem here is we don't know what the target date is. We don't know what Y2Q or Q day is, but we need to start thinking and preparing. You lost your mic.
So I'll open it up to Oswaldo and Jose with respect to quantum. I mean, Gary's talked about some of the regulation or the things regulators should be worrying about. Obviously, cybersecurity is a huge risk. I mean, feel free to, Oswaldo, it's what is it aspects about cybersecurity that people should be worried about? What are some of the other potential risks of quantum computing that, both firms and regulators should be thinking about? And then, Jose, if there's anything else you'd like to add.
I agree. It's very complicated to impose, to regulate these sort of new technologies. And there's always the risk to go beyond what is really realizable. So the thing is that with these new quantum computers that can break these standard methods used today, like RSA, for example, or ECC, also using cryptocurrencies, maybe it's 2032, 2030 is very soon. The immediate solution they found is this post-quantum cryptography, which NIST decided that four algorithms, which are more mathematical problems, which are more complicated than the ones currently used. However, the risk with this is that they may be also broken soon, right? Maybe not in 5 years, but maybe in 6, right? So the thing is that when you have new mathematical problems, the new large quantum computers will break it. Maybe not the first generation, but the second generation. So there is this, of course, this risk to invest and then have only a solution for 1 more year. I think at the end, the solution will be to have some quantum solutions like a quantum key distribution or quantum networks, where they are using more like the quantum mechanics to, in fact, protect the data. So if there is any eavesdropper, as they say, so you will be able to detect it and then just drop the communication. So it's a complicated issue, and as was mentioned, there is no regulation at the moment, not for the financial sector. It's just suggested, which I think is dangerous. But for government institutions, there are already some real actions to be taken. Like in 2030, they have to migrate all the system to this more secure. So it's a complicated issue, and there is a lot of risk. That's for sure.
Was there anything you want to add?
Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, quantum. First, I just want to make a disclosure. I'm a nerd by heart. When I seek peace, I look to videos of the standard model. I'm following the gossip of Eric Weinstein versus string theory. So I really love the quantum to happen. But I think the situation with quantum has been that we have been similar to like fusion, right? It seems that it's always 5 years ahead in the next 5 years. And we haven't experienced this ChatGPT moment that it's like, okay, wow, it's really here. And as Gary says, right, like it's hard to prepare for something when we don't have the post, and we have seen continuously that it continues to get kick ahead. So I think it's I will be extremely excited to be able to work on something like this, and I'm really hopeful that soon we're gonna have a breakthrough on quantum.
Yeah, I actually want to expand the thought process a little bit. So when you think about quantum, do not think just about quantum computing. There's an expectation that there will be a quantum internet. Why? Because subatomic particles have this capability. They realize that you could have a qubit here in Santa Fe, and you could have a qubit on Mars, and those two qubits may interact with each other. And we're just learning about that. We're just beginning to understand better that capability. But the thought that two subatomic particles very far away can interact with each other naturally is really just making people just yearn for this quantum internet. There's also something called quantum sensation. There was a McKinsey study that came out recently that spent some time on that, which is that there's the expectation that applications relying on quantum computers will be able to sense things better. We've talked about their mathematical capacity and their capacity to compute things faster, but they may have other capabilities that we're not learned about. And by the way, that's another area that people are starting to think about, is the software necessary to make us understand the potential of quantum computers.
So definitely a lot of things to talk about. We have a couple of minutes left. If we have any questions that anybody would like to ask our distinguished panelists. Anybody? Yes, that one right up here.
Somebody got to give her a microphone. I think we've hogged all the microphones. 1 second. Un momento.
How fast do you see all this incorporated in like everyday life? In how long time? I mean,
I'm happy. I mean,
Can I answer that?
go ahead, Oswaldo. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Everyday life, never. Okay, quantum computers will not be a substitution for classical computers. So quantum computers are just a new sort of technology, completely different as classical computers. They will be dealing with very complicated problems. So your computer will always be classical. Your mobile phone will always be classical. This means the mobile phone you have will always be the same sort of technology, same the computer, right? Many of the things you still see today will be the same, but of course, for more complicated tasks, you will need quantum computing. Okay, so previously one of the guests mentioned that In fact, quantum computing is not only quantum computation. Okay, this is something that has to be clear also. Quantum computing involves quantum technology means three different things. One is quantum computation, the acceleration of computational problems. The other one is quantum communication, which has to do more with this encryption and safe communication, quantum networks, these sort of things. And then quantum sensing, which is another technology, which is related but completely different in some sort. So these are technologies which have applications, but mostly not for normal life. This is not something we have at home, but certainly we have, like in financial institutions, yes. In physics and chemistry labs, yes. In pharmaceutical companies, yes. And not necessarily in place, but also they will be able to use it on the cloud. Okay, but for most of us, we will be still using just current computers because we don't need all the speed, all the safety, for example, right, that these computers can provide. So they are not coming here to substitute classical computers, but just to supplement classical computers in this new, in this future.
That being said, I do think that AI is obviously being used more and more currently. I'm struck by the fact that one of the most interesting applications I've seen recently. I don't know if it's hit Mexico yet. It's hit in the United States, where nursing homes with seniors who don't have family members are engaging with chatbots effectively to have conversations to remove some of their loneliness. I mean, what a smart idea! What a good idea! So I think almost everybody will have more and more current uses of AI. Quantum, I agree, is much more down the line before we see the benefits of that.
I think, I mean, for example, in my case, right? Like sometimes I spoke with some clients, and they tell me like, "Hey, we have not authorized code assistants. We don't have authorized access to AI." And everything I code, I do it with AI, right? Like everyone in my company use a code assistant. And just thinking that I will go into a job and they will not allow me to use a code assistant will be like, I cannot work here. So I think we're really, really going to be facing a faster than expected adoption of this technology, especially as the network effect starts coming and starts snowballing, and people start using them.
And the technology rambles on, and we try to keep up with it. We are out of time, so thank you very much for the opportunity, and thanks for your question.
Thank you.
Great.
Jose, Gary, Osvaldo, Daniel, on behalf of Rishmatics, we thank you for this panel session. Such an interesting question, such a subject full of questions still to be answered. And I hope that we have the time and the opportunity to talk about this in future events like the Risk Management Training Conference.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.